one who recites 1 time, he will get 10 mercies. The one who recites 10 times, he will get 100 mercies. And the one who recites 100 times, he will get 1,000 mercies. This was a very beautiful calculation from the Hadith Sharif. And now listen to the next part of Hadith. وَمَنْ صَلَّى عَلَيَّ أَلْفًا. Subhanallah. The one who recites 1,000 times durood upon me, then what will he get? زَاحَمَتْ كَتِفُهُ كَتِفِي عَلَى بَابِ الْجَنَّةِ. Subhanallah. Look at the generosity of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. زَاحَمَتْ كَتِفُهُ كَتِفِي عَلَى بَابِ الْجَنَّةِ. That his shoulder will touch my shoulder at the door of Jannah. Subhanallah. If you recite just 1,000 times durood upon Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, such a great excellence we will get on the day of Qiyamah, that the shoulder of that person will be touching the shoulder of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's how we will enter Jannah. But whereas our wish is just that we may follow Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, behind Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we may enter Jannah. But look at the generosity of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Look at the mercy of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That the one who recites 1,000 times the durood upon Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he will enter Jannah in this way, that his shoulder will be touching the shoulder of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's how he will enter Jannah. Subhanallah. So now after listening to this Hadith Sharif, let us ponder on ourselves. Let us ponder that how we are spending our time, how we are managing our time. Are we managing our time according to the Sharia, according to the teachings of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or are we spending our time in useless activities, in those activities which does not concern us at all? We need to ponder, we need to give some time to ourselves, we need to question ourselves that how we are spending our time. Because many times our time is spent in those activities where there is no use, where there is no benefit of this dunya and there is no benefit of the hereafter. Just we are wasting our time. And from those activities which does not concern us and which consume our most of our time, one of them is our cell phones. Our cell phones consume most of our time. Okay, it is understood if somebody is using his cell phone to seek the knowledge of Deen, he is learning something from his phone. He is reading Quran, he is learning how to read Quran. Okay, it is understood that he is making use of his time. But now, many of us spend our time, hours and hours, on watching videos on YouTube. This is a sad reality. And those videos are such, astaghfirullah, sometimes there is haram things in those videos as well. But we are watching normal. And we don't even think that our time is being wasted. So one of those things, it is our cell phones which is consuming most of our time, in which there is no benefit of this dunya and no benefit of the hereafter. And we are attached to our cell phones to such an extent that we are even unable to give time to our families. And our cell phones are only off when there is something wrong, when there is no network, or when the light is off, we are unable to charge our phones. Like sometimes that last week, there was no electricity. So now at that time you could see people are seeing each other, families are meeting each other, and then they realize, okay, even the family members are good. Family members are good people. Because even while staying amongst the family members, we are unable to see them. The person who is sitting right next to me, he will be in another part of the world because of the cell phone. Two people walking past, they will not make even salam to each other. Whereas there are so many ahadith in regards to spreading salam. But we are so busy in our phone, we are walking, we are looking at our phone. We don't even know who passed by us. We are so lost in our phones. So definitely, my dear brothers in Islam, we need to ponder on our time, that how we are spending our time. Remember, we're not going to get some extra time. That okay, these 50 years, you can spend in enjoying your life. You can spend in your business. You can do some other things. You can spend first few years in your cell phones. And after 50, 60 years, you will be given another 5 to 10 years in where you can prepare for your hereafter. It is not like that. Many business people must be sitting here. They know that how it works, how to manage a time, how important a time is. When they leave in the morning, they leave early morning, and they don't even waste 1 minute. If they waste 1 minute, they will lose their business. But what about Qiyamah? What about hereafter? Are we even preparing for that? Are we managing our time for that as well or not? So remember, we're not going to get extra time. This is the only time, this is the only one life that we have, and we have to prepare ourselves right in this time. As I mentioned some time back, that this is the time to return. Otherwise, when the soul will come to our collarbone, to our collar area, then no time, then no repentance. That's it. Kalla idha balagati taraki, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, that when the soul will reach to the taraki, to the collar area, then that's it. Then no repentance, then no return, then no more good deeds. Now is the time to return. Now is the time to manage our time for the hereafter. To spend our time in good amal, to spend our time in those activities which please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His beloved Habib sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As it is mentioned in one hadith sharif, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, min husni islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'nihi. Subhanallah, what a beautiful hadith. That it is from the excellence of a believer's Islam. It is from the excellence, husn, excellence of a believer's Islam, that tarkuhu ma la ya'nihi. He leaves that which does not concern you. So we learn that we have to leave those activities, those things which does not concern us, which does not benefit us in any way, neither in this dunya nor in the hereafter. And many people, they talk about time management. And many other religions also, they talk about time management. But subhanallah, the way our Islam teaches us about our time management, no other religion in the entire universe speaks about such time management. Subhanallah, if we just look at our ibadat, our worship, all our ibadat are on right time, on perfect timing. Just look at our azan, look at our salat. If the muazzin, he gives azan 1 minute before the time enters, the azan will not take place. And likewise, if we perform salah before entering of the time of that salah, the salah will not be valid. If somebody performs salah after the time is finished for salah, his salah will not be valid. Even all the ibadat, all our worship are right on time. Look at our fasting, our song in the month of Ramadan is right on time. We have to break our fast exactly on the time. If we break our fast even 1 minute before the time has come, the fast will not be valid. There's so many big events taken in the entire world. But look at the event of Hajj, how perfectly it is managed. Now it is a time for Mina, people must go to Mina. It is a time for Muzdalifah, people must go to Muzdalifah. Now it is time to make tawaf, now people must make tawaf. How perfectly Islam gives us time management. It is a very beautiful hadith sharif in regards to time management. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Igtanim khamsan qabla khamsin. Igtanim khamsan qabla khamsin. Appreciate 5 things before 5 things. It means appreciate 5 things before other 5 things overcome you. And which are those 5 things? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Shababaka qabla haramika. Your youth before your old age. Allah. Wasihataka qabla saqamika. And your health before your sickness. Waghinaka qabla faqrika. And your wealth, you being wealthy before your poverty. وَفَرَاغَكَ قَبْلَ شُغْلِكَ. Appreciate your free time before you are occupied. وَحَيَاتَكَ قَبْلَ مَوْتِكَ. Allah Akbar. And appreciate your life before your death. Imagine, my dear brothers in Islam, if you have to just discuss each and every sentence of this hadith sharif, many days will pass, but we will not be able to comprehend the great meaning of this hadith sharif. But inshallah, we look at the first one. It was shababaka qabla haramika. That your youth before your old age. Now is the time. Many young people are sitting here with perfect body parts, subhanallah. Can see, can talk, can hear, can walk, can hold, can do our things on our own. But if we're going to become neglect, remember, we did not get these body parts in order to spend them in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We did not get this perfect life or these perfect body parts so that we spend them in useless activities. But very sadly, nowadays our mindset has become that I'm still young. I'm still 15 years old, I'm still 20 years old, I'm still 25 years old, I still have time. Inshallah, after 20 years, when I'm 50 years old, when I'm 60 years old, I will do ibadah at that time. But who knows that when we're going to depart from this world? Are we confirmed, are we sure of this, that we're even going to reach to that age? But this is our mindset now, that I'm still young, I will do ibadah later. Allahu Akbar. Ask those old people around us, ask them. They will express their desire, they will tell you that I want to make ibadat now. I want to stand and perform salah, but I can't stand properly. Allahu Akbar. I want to fast, but I'm unable to fast. I want to stand and perform Tarawih Salah in the month of Ramadan, but I'm unable to perform because I'm weak now. Let us do that. We can give that time to our old people. We can sit with them. We can ask them that how do they feel now. A great wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says a very amazingly in a couplet, he says, रियाजत के यही दिन है, इबादत के यही दिन है, बुढ़ापे में कहाँ हिम्मत, जो करना है अभी कर लो, नूरी जवान तुम हो. He says this is the time of ibadat, this is the time of worship. Where are you going to get time in your old age? You're not going to have time in your old age. In old age, the sickness will not leave you. Sometimes this disease, sometimes that problem, sometimes this problem. At that time you will be dealing with the problems, with the diseases, with the difficulties. How are you going to get time to make a ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So right now is the time. And remember, the ibadat of youth, those people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in youth, it is the way of awliya Allah. It is the way of the pious people of Allah. And they would spend their young age in the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And according to one hadith sharif, where those 7 people are mentioned, that they will be under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. One of those people who will be under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Shabun Nasha'a fi ibadatillah. Is that young man who grew up with the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who grew up with the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He did not waste his youth. So now we can ponder, are we spending our youth Are we spending our prime age in the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or in useless activities? Are we spending our young age in the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or in sins? There was one very great wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, very pious person. He was 100 years old, but all his body parts were perfect. Somebody asked him that how it is possible that you are 100 years old, but all your body parts are perfect. You can see, you can talk, you can hear, you can walk properly, everything is fine. But at the age of 100, how it is possible? Allah Akbar. That wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, he said, because I spent my youth in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because in my young age, in my prime age, I did not use my body parts in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what do we learn from this? That if we want that in our old age, our body parts to be perfect, then right now, when our body parts are perfect, right now is the time to spend them in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that when we are old, even at that time, we don't go through difficulties. So my dear brothers in Islam, right now is the time to return. Otherwise, وَظَنَّا أَنَّهُ الْفِرَاقِ, at that time when the people will be around us, but we know that this is the departing time. وَالْتَفَّتِ السَّاقُ بِالسَّاقِ, and our legs will be wrapped in our shrouds. At that time there will be no return. At that time there will be no return, no end. That's it. No more we can come towards masjid. No more we can make ibadat. No more we can give sadaqah. I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to manage our time according to the teachings of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to understand our deen the way Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrote. Ameen bi jannatil ameen. Sallu ala al-habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. Please perform your